charger. Depart me from my way, maybe small. Allah Abba, he my father. I was in the maze of the dark. Yeah, he called me, he restored me. That's why I give all praise to the Father. And regardless, he the author. I'ma send my prayers to the heavens. To the Father, Allah Abba. Depart me from my way, maybe small. Allah Abba, he my father. I was in the maze of the dark. Yeah, he called me, he restored me. That's why I give all praise to the Father. And regardless, he the author of all things, all days and all ways. I'ma walk in Yahweh, that's always, cause I'm focused on Yahweh, not always.
All praise El Shaddai, Elohim, and Yahashua HaMashiach. All praise and all glory go to the Father. Welcome back to One Deity. I'm Yosef Ben Jacob, as you already know. Let's get right into it. So, today, I just want to say first and foremost, I want to thank the Father for getting me through this month. This is a very interesting month, I would say. And I can see why a lot of wickedness is promoted in this month, because this is a very weird month. But I want to give praise to the Father for the strength that he gave me to get through this month and any other month when things are much more different than usual. So I want to give all praise and all strength to the Father. And with that being said, we're still going to come and praise the Father even when things aren't the best, or we're not doing great in all cases, or things ain't going 100% right or perfect or correct. We're going to come through and still praise the Father. It shows our strength. It shows our faithfulness. So with that being said, I'm going to be reading from a sermon that is titled, We Know Nothing, but the Father Knows Everything. Again, the sermon is titled, We Know Nothing, but the Father Knows Everything. And the theme of this sermon, or the main focus, is to accept the fact, or acknowledge first, that we don't know everything the Father does. And without further ado, let's get right into it. We know nothing, but the Father knows everything. The first step towards knowledge is admitting that you don't know everything, and in some cases, you don't know anything. For it is true that the beginning of knowledge is fear of the Father. So plainly put and emphasized, you don't know nothing until you fear the Father. And that's the truth. Not only is he the supplier of knowledge, but he is the author of it. And the simple fact should bring shame to his enemies and those who think about going against him. For how can you defeat someone who knows everything? Everything you know and everything you don't know. For in fact, he is the know. He is the know himself. He is the know-it-all. And once you know this, you can move accordingly with respect for his knowledge and knowledge of the fact that all knowledge begins with him. For Solomon teaches us in his book of wise sayings to turn your ear to wisdom and to apply your heart to understanding, to look for it as for silver and to search for it as for hidden treasure. And then and only then will you understand the fear of the Father and find knowledge of the Elohim, for it is him who gives wisdom. And this is interesting because if you know the story, then you know who is responsible for bestowing knowledge and wisdom to Solomon. It was the Most High Power, El Shaddai, Elohim, who gave Solomon wisdom. The Father gave Solomon great wisdom and insight, and understanding, said to be as measureless as the sand of the seashore. Solomon was wiser than any other men of his time. His fame spread to all the surrounding nations, and men of all nations came to listen to the great wisdom of Solomon. This was only made possible through the great power of the Holy One, because again, we know nothing, but the Father knows everything. And it's funny, because once you adopt this attitude and mindset, it is in this humbleness, speaking from experience, that your knowledge is increased. It is power in recognizing and admitting that you don't know everything, but the Father knows all. And in this cluelessness and knowledge of nothingness, you are willing to seek the Father for His knowledge of truth, understanding, and the proper answers to your questions. By doing this, you are showering yourself in the knowledge of the Father, which make you knowledgeable. For we probably admit that we don't know it all, but we are steadfast in the fact that we know the Father. And in all actuality, that's all you need to know. For He is the know. It's when you don't have no knowledge of Him, is when your problem begins. The misery of not having no reason and understanding, but being left to rely on your own reasoning and understanding, is the reason for your problems. Let me say that again. The misery of not having no reason and understanding, but being left to rely on your own understanding, is the reason for your problems. For the righteous and holy followers of Yahweh, or Yehovah, we don't seek for our own understanding, but for the understanding of the Father. For it is a blessing to know that understanding is good, understanding is wisdom, and understanding is knowledge. But even with all this understanding, it is no good to lean on your own understanding when it comes to the Father, especially when it comes down to a command or a leap of faith. As it is said in the scripture in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 through 6, and I quote, "Do not lean on your own understanding." This is informative because this enlightens us to trust not our own mind and thoughts, but to trust in the Father with all our mind, heart, and soul, and to submit to Him in all our ways. For I truly believe that Elohim cannot be fully understood by the human mind. So we should not try to understand Him, but instead accept the understanding that He provides. We should moreover love Him than try to understand the things that we cannot understand. We should love Him with all our minds, hearts, and souls, instead of trying to figure Him out. For He is the foundation of figure itself, and it is no figuring without Him. For indeed it was His wisdom that laid the earth's foundations and set the heavens in place. Before we existed, there was Yah's wisdom. Before the world existed, it was His wisdom that put the world in motion, that brought it into reality. So how can we be wise if it's not in the ways of the Father? How can you be wiser than wisdom itself? It is the Father who created it and supplied it. He is the producer and distributor, author and publisher, creator and platform. It is through Him that all wisdom is obtained. And I'm not referring to worldly wisdom, for that comes a dime a dozen, but this one spiritual knowledge that is granted by the Ruach HaKodesh itself for the purpose of illuminating the souls of men. This knowledge is of one kind, and is delivered by the one and only leads to a better relationship with the one. Bettermore, it is in your best interest to seek for this godly knowledge with purity of heart, and once you have gained some, to never let it go. And the secret for safekeeping, or the code to the safe, is staying uprighteous, staying faithful to the Father, and upright in the heart. By doing this, you are keeping your lifetime benefits with knowledge and understanding, and wisdom will never depart your house. At the same time, I must warn you that the fastest way to lose your reason is sin, or by sin. Sin never do anybody any good. Just as fast as you gain your knowledge and understanding, it's probably twice as fast to lose it. Sin will definitely take you from the land of the wise, and the worst part about it is losing your knowledge and understanding and not even having the awareness that you did, but dwelling in your flesh in a dark place without the knowledge and understanding to make a wise decision. This is very scary and an unsure place to be at, a place where your salvation is unsure, your safety and refuge is unknown, you are cut off from the source of light and life, in a false reality that you maneuver and mirage to help you deal with the pain of not being with the Father, and the sorrows of not living in your God-given purpose. For this is the reality of losing your reason and understanding from the cause of your own actions, directly from your own sin. Pride is a big reason why most lose their position or authority or knowledge and understanding altogether. As in the Nebuchadnezzar story, the prideful king with the prideful heart. For 7 years, Yahweh took away the king's wisdom, intelligence, and power because the king was living in pride and took credit for all the victory and prosperity that was given to his kingdom. For the record will show, he stated something as, "It's not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of my kingdom, but a might of my own power." The king was bragging and boasting about what he had accomplished and felt as though he was the sole purpose of his success. Even the prophet Daniel tried to warn the king to turn from his prideful ways and humble himself, or that his monarch would be destroyed. But the king failed to obey, and for his disobedience and the sin of pride, God humbled him, causing him to literally behave like an animal, like a wild beast, moping around on his hands and knees. For 7 years, Yahweh took away the king's wisdom, intelligence, and power, and he was a mere shadow of what he used to be, giving testimony to the fact that the Father gives and takes away. He humbles and exalts, for all wisdom and power are his, and it is up to his discretion on whom he chooses to give grace and mercy to. Moreover, to conclude this matter, at the due and appointed time, after the 7 years, Nebuchadnezzar returned back to his right mind and was given back his kingdom in royal majesty. It was in these signs and miracles that King Nebuchadnezzar repented and gave all glory and praise to Yahweh. The record shows that he proclaimed, and I quote, "I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes towards heaven, and my sanctity was restored. His dominion," he is speaking of the father, Nebuchadnezzar, "his dominion is an eternal dominion. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the people of the earth are regarded as nothing. He does what he pleases with the power of heaven and the people of the earth. No one can hold back his hand or say to him, 'What have you done?'" This story and these sets of events shines light on a moral lesson and give testimony to the fact that no matter who you are, you can be humble. And no matter if you're king or slave. And the other important lesson that is that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding belongs to the Father, and He can take it and give it at any time to whom He desires to give it to. This is true and more evidence to the fact that we know nothing, but the Father knows everything. And with all that being said, all praise El Shaddai, Elohim, and Yahashua HaMashiach. All praise and all glory go to the Father, in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son. Amen.
I'ma send my praise to the Father. Allah Abba, He my charger. The part me from my way may be small. Allah Abba, He my Father. I was in the maze of the dark. Yeah, called me, He restored me. That's why I get all praise to the Father. And regardless, He the author. I'ma send my praise.